A very warm welcome to all those who are watching this presentation. I am Damodaran M. and I'm an SCM professional with over 3 decades of industry experience in manufacturing, oil and gas upstream, EPC oil and gas, power, and logistics sector in India and abroad. Today, I would like to share with you my presentation on supply classification and management in a project-based environment pertaining to infrastructure projects. With our GDP poised to grow at 7.5%, great emphasis is going to be laid on infrastructure development. And this presentation of mine can help classify and manage suppliers in an efficient manner. This model has been developed by me, and its application has yielded positive results in my last assignment. At the end of my presentation, I would request you to send in your feedback and queries to my mail ID, which is given in my last slide. In the past, suppliers were treated as one monolithic group or as a single one-size-fits-all group. Global economic integration, customization, and ever-changing customer demands have created stiff competition among various supply chains. Moreover, internet and information technology has transformed this world into a big marketplace. Competition has compelled enterprises to improve quality, reduce cost, and reduce delivery lead times. Surprisingly, competition among enterprises is now slowly transforming into competition among their supply chains. Safeguarding supply chains from hackers is another concern which is in the news these days, attracting attention of every enterprise. Excuse me. Speaking of supply chains, we all know that suppliers are the headstream of any supply chain, and hence the classification and management is very important to make supply chain competitive. In the past, management of suppliers mostly revolved around selection and evaluation of suppliers, and very few studies were conducted on classification of suppliers based on qualitative research. An effective supply chain being the key differentiator for the success of an enterprise, classification of suppliers is an immediate requirement. I think a paradigm shift in our approach is necessary in this direction. Supply classification pertaining to infrastructure projects. In this presentation, I am going to speak to you about supply classification and management in a project-based environment pertaining to infrastructure projects like railways, roads, energy, etc. Our Planning Commission had pledged to invest $1 trillion in mega infrastructure projects during the period 2012-2017. As per the latest reports by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, 245 infrastructure projects have been delayed, and 340 projects have had cost overruns. Reasons could be many, could be because of delay in project financing, ministry clearances, delay in finalization of detail engineering, delayed ordering, supply pre-commissioning, contractual issues with suppliers due to change in scope, etc., etc. In a project-based organization, materials and goods are generally classified into 4 main categories. 1. Package or engineered goods or engineered materials like steam turbine, air-cooled condensers, gas treatment plants, etc. 2. Balance of plant items, which is critical valves, piping items, etc. 3. Which is general consumables like hand gloves, binding wire, welding consumables, etc. Then bulk items, which is cement, steel, paint, etc. On the above premise, suppliers have been classified into 4 categories as per the risk and cost metrics given in my next slide. Strategic suppliers are high-cost, high-risk suppliers. Bottleneck suppliers are low-cost, high-risk suppliers. Leverage suppliers are high-cost, low-risk suppliers. And regular suppliers are low-cost, low-risk suppliers. Strategic suppliers are those who provide materials or services which are very high in value and are crucial from the standpoint of project completion. They are mostly highly engineered items with specifications customized to suit the project. These suppliers have to be handled very precariously, as it can have significant long-term effect on our business. Bottleneck suppliers are those suppliers who provide materials or services which can be sourced only from 1 or 2 suppliers, mostly monopolistic, and are critical for timely completion and delivery of the projects. Examples: certain critical valves, piping materials, etc. Although the spend may be small for this category, there's a potential business risk if these materials are not delivered as per specifications and on time. You may have alternate options, but there could be difficulty in switching. Hence, I think we need to handle this bottleneck suppliers also with care. Leverage suppliers are those who provide materials or services which can be sourced from different suppliers, mostly commodity items, bulk materials, etc. And there's a very high spend throughout the life cycle of the project. For example, steel, cement, etc. Finally, regular suppliers are those who provide materials or services which are easy to source, have relatively low value, and can be replaced by similar products from other sources. Example: hand gloves, welding consumables, binding wire, etc. They are all low risk, low category materials. They are low cost, low category suppliers, sorry. There's no inherent complexity nor any potential to disrupt actually business continuity with this kind of suppliers. I spoke about this 4 categories in my earlier slide, so I would like to switch on to the next slide. And that's supplier management. We need to actually manage each one of them in a different manner, following the tips or guidelines that can be used for management of these 4 categories. Strategic suppliers. The best way to manage a supplier is to have detailed supplier assessment, pre-qualification done at sourcing stage, followed by regular performance monitoring and conducting supplier audits after the award of contract. Good supplier relationship and alliance management should be exercised, keeping a long-term focus. Bottleneck suppliers are those suppliers where the procurement spend may be small, but they provide items which are very critical from project completion point of view. The best way to handle them is to have volume insurance, good supplier relations, maintaining buffer inventories, contingencies, and having alternate plans. Leverage suppliers. Leverage suppliers are the suppliers where the project spend is large and you may have many suppliers who can meet your requirement. In this case, reverse auction can help us obtain best prices, and rate contracts can help freeze prices for a definite period. Finally, regular suppliers. They are the low risk, low cost category suppliers and are many in number. This category can be best managed by product standardization, rate contracts, better inventory management, etc. Supplier management tools. Following some of the management tools that can be used for better supplier management, specifically in case of strategic and bottleneck suppliers. Risk assessment of suppliers is 1. Pre-qualification or assessment of suppliers is 2. Develop supplier management plan is 3. Supplier performance scorecard is 4. And developing a RACI matrix of supplier management is 5. Our focus here is on strategic and bottleneck suppliers, as both of them falls in the high risk category. And hence risk mitigation is an important element that can be not overlooked in good supplier management. Risk assessment is to be mandatorily carried out for all strategic and bottleneck suppliers. Identification of risk can be carried out in the following functional areas like operations, processes, financial, organizational, environmental, quality, regulatory, etc. If you look at the slide, you will find that the first step is to identify the risk. Then identify the level of occurrence and the level of impact. Total risk can be derived from the following empirical formula, which is total risk is equal to potential impact into probability of occurrence. Mitigation techniques have been shown depending on severity in my next slide. The total risk will determine the magnitude of actions according to the following table. If the total risk is between 1 and 2, the risk level is considered as low and no further action is required. When the total risk is between 3 and 4, the risk level is considered as moderate and complete contingency plan is required. If the total risk is between 6 and 10, the risk level is considered as high and a complete contingency plan and mitigation plan is required. When the total risk is between 9 and 16, the risk level is very high and a complete contingency plan and mitigation of plans immediately is required. Pre-qualification or assessment of suppliers. Proper assessment of strategic and bottleneck suppliers should be done at sourcing stage. Objective is to verify the credentials submitted by them in the supplier assessment form. This is to assess their capability in terms of infrastructure, organizational, financial, quality management, etc. Assessment should be ideally done by a team comprising of representatives from supply chain, operations, quality control, and finance. This is a very crucial activity prior to placing an order, and if not carried out diligently, this can lead to serious problems in future in terms of delayed delivery, defective supply, etc., etc. A pre-qualification form or a format for a supplier assessment or pre-qualification can be made available separately for which you may contact me on my mail ID, which is given in the last slide. Supplier management plan. Supplier management plan is to be made for all strategic and bottleneck supplier. This can help improve supplier relationship with focus on long term. Some of the tools and techniques with expected benefits are as follows. There are 8 of them, which I'll explain to you in brief. Look ahead meetings are a must to identify future challenges and work out mitigation measures. Annual reviews by senior management is also must to review KPIs, identify quality improvements, etc. Quarterly performance review meeting is required for management level progress reporting. Balanced scorecard is required to have sharp focus on agreed performance areas and measure its progress. Saving on cost. Price reduction focus should be undertaken by regularly comparing prices and challenging its competitiveness, and also transaction cost reduction should be in focus. Commercial terms. Customized terms and conditions may introduce significant liability exposures that needs to be managed for better performance. Information sharing. Information sharing is required for better performance and competitive advantage. Process integration. This is required to facilitate process improvement at both the ends. Quality plan. Quality plan identifies all quality impacting activities and associated surveillance activities and documentation. HSE plan. This identifies all HSE related activities appropriate to the risk during the product or the service provisions. Risk and performance-based audit verifies and measures contract performance and facilitates improvement. Finally, people management. Common people-oriented KPIs are required and they should be incentivized. The individual should be incentivized to perform better. Again, the supplier management plan format can be made available separately, for which you may actually send me your request through my email ID. Supplier performance scorecard. Supplier performance scorecard is a document prepared normally at the time of project closeout for strategic and bottleneck suppliers. This document will give a correct picture of how the supplier had performed during execution of the project and will highlight areas of strength and weakness. This document evaluates a supplier against critical parameters right from tender stage or tender support stage to warranty management stage. Evaluation is done in an objective manner by various departments like supply chain, quality control, engineering, and project department. Based on the sum of ratings provided by each department against different parameters, a total score is obtained. And final recommendation is signed off by department heads of all the departments. This is an important document that needs to be archived and referred to while tendering for new jobs. This document will also highlight areas of weakness of the supplier, which will help us formulate plans accordingly while engaging them in future. Improved supplier relations with long-term focus leading to strategic alliances can be developed with this tool. Finally, a RACI matrix is to be prepared for supplier management. RACI stands for responsible, accountable, consult, and informed. If you look at the RACI matrix, you will find that each department or stakeholders have different roles to play. Roles and responsibilities are clearly defined, and this leads to any kind of confusion or duplication or overlap of activities between various functions. Finally, this entire supplier management activity or supplier management and classification activity has to be institutionalized by creating a policy and procedure and incorporating the same in quality management system. Thank you once again for being a very good audience. And for any queries on this, you may please contact me directly on my mail ID, which is momaadhav@gmail.com. Thank you.